Bells rang out across St. Peter's Square on Saturday as the death of former Pope Benedict XVI was announced. A spokesperson for the Holy See said the 95-year-old had passed away at the Vatican's Mater Ecclesiae monastery on Saturday morning. He had been living there since 2013, when he became the first pontiff in 600 years to resign. Earlier this week, Pope Francis had disclosed during his weekly general audience that his predecessor was very sick and asked people to pray for him. Benedict, who in 2005 became the first German pope in 1,000 years, had good relations with his successor. However, his continued presence inside the Vatican ideologically polarized the church. Conservatives, alarmed by Francis's progressive moves, had looked to Benedict as a guardian of tradition. The Vatican said Benedict's body will lie in state from Monday in St. Peter's Basilica. The Vatican has painstakingly elaborate rituals for what happens after a reigning pope dies, but no publicly known ones for a former pontiff.
Israel condemned and the Palestinians welcomed on Saturday a United Nations vote over Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories.
Draft Resolution 1 is adopted.
The General Assembly passed a resolution on Friday to ask the International Court of Justice for an opinion on the legal consequences of the, quote, occupation, settlement, and annexation, including measures aimed at altering the demographic composition, character, and status of the Holy City of Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday called the vote despicable. He said the Israeli people are not occupiers and would not be bound by the resolution. The vote presents a challenge for Netanyahu, who took office this week as the head of a new hard-right government that has made settlement expansion and annexation a priority. Palestinian officials hailed the vote as a victory Saturday. A spokesman for Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said the time has come for Israel to be a state subject to law. Along with Gaza and East Jerusalem, the Palestinians seek the occupied West Bank for a state. Most countries consider Israel's settlements there illegal, a view Israel disputes, citing historical and biblical ties to the land. The Hague-based International Court of Justice is the top UN court dealing with disputes between states. Its rulings are binding, but it has no power to enforce them.
Barbara Walters, creator of ABC's The View and one of American television's most well-known interviewers, died on Friday at the age of 93. Bob Iger, CEO of Walt Disney Company, the corporate parent of ABC News, said she died at her home in New York. Walters made history in 1976 as the first woman to co-anchor an evening news broadcast in the United States, appearing on ABC Evening News with Harry Reasoner. In a male-dominated industry, she was paid an unprecedented annual salary at the time of $1 million for her work. 2 years later, Walters established herself on the network's primetime news magazine show 2020 and stayed with the program for 25 years. In a broadcast career spanning 5 decades, Walters interviewed an array of world leaders, including Cuba's Fidel Castro, Britain's Margaret Thatcher, Libyan ruler Muammar Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein of Iraq, and every US president and first lady since Richard and Pat Nixon. Walters became so prominent that her star quality sometimes overshadowed the people she was interviewing. The New York Times called her arguably America's best-known television personality, but also observed that what we remember most about a Barbara Walters interview is Barbara Walters. In 1997, Walters created The View on ABC, a popular roundtable discussion show for women, and appeared with co-hosts Star Jones and Rosie O'Donnell. She made her final appearance on the show in 2014, but remained as an executive producer for the program. Walters earned 12 Emmy Awards, 11 of those while at ABC News.
Former Pope Benedict, who died on Saturday aged 95, was the first German pope in 1,000 years and the first pontiff in 600 years to resign. A more traditionalist leader, he had good relations with successor Pope Francis, considered more progressive. But his continued presence in the Vatican following his 2013 resignation has further polarised the church ideologically. A piano-playing professor and formidable theologian, Benedict was by his own admission a weak leader, and there were moments of crises throughout his 8-year reign. He was challenged multiple times over the Church's failure to root out child sexual abuse by clergy. He repeatedly apologised and was the first pope to take serious action against it, but this did not halt the rapid decline of church-going in the West. In another blow, Benedict's papacy was shaken by a scandal dubbed Vati leaks in 2012. Leaked documents exposed infighting, dysfunction and financial corruption within the church administration. A 2022 German independent report alleged that Benedict had failed to take action in 4 abuse cases when he was Archbishop of Munich between 1977 and 1982. He acknowledged in an emotional personal letter that errors had occurred and asked for forgiveness. However, Benedict will be best remembered for shocking the world when he announced his resignation on February 11, 2013. In his emotional farewell, he admitted to difficult periods throughout his premiere. While there were moments of joy and light, he said, there were moments when the seas were rough and it seemed that the Lord was sleeping.
Pennsylvania State Police arrested postgraduate student Brian Christopher Koberger, suspecting he fatally stabbed 4 University of Idaho students more than 6 weeks ago. Authorities said Koberger studied criminal justice at Washington State University. The university said he completed his first semester in early December, suggesting he remained on campus for weeks, just 10 miles away from the crime scene across the Idaho state line, before he returned to Pennsylvania. The slain University of Idaho students, 3 female and 1 male, were found in an off-campus house on November 13th. They were stabbed multiple times, and some victims had defensive wounds, suggesting they tried to fend off an attack. Speaking to the press on Friday, Police Chief James Fry in Moscow, Idaho, said the town of 25,000 remains shaken by the murders.
These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process. This was a very complex and extensive case. We developed a clear picture over time, and we stand assured that the work is not done, but be assured the work is not done. This has just started.
Fry said the murder weapon has not been recovered, though officers found the car believed to have been near the home when the murders took place. He also declined to reveal how authorities tracked down Koberger to about 90 miles north of Philadelphia. The 28-year-old suspect now awaits a hearing on whether he will waive extradition and return voluntarily to Idaho to face charges.